Oral questions by members.
Member for Surrey Cloverdale.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Fraser Health recently had 2 incidents where nurses were severely hurt and may never be able to return to work. But when WorkSafe investigated, they blamed the nurses. One nurse was even suspended and made to do her violence prevention training. Staffing shortages, Mr. Speaker, put nurses in situations where they're forced to make a choice: treat a patient on their own or delay care. This is a failure to meet care standards. Both scenarios leave nurses in jeopardy of losing their license. BC's nurses are being placed in impossible situations. Imagine how demoralizing it must be to be blamed for getting hurt because of a no-win situation created by this government. When will the Premier look in the mirror, stop blaming nurses, and stand up for their safety?
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. Hospitals and healthcare facilities are places where people go to get better, to get well. And violence has absolutely no place in any healthcare workplace, in any workplace in British Columbia, Mr. Speaker. That's why we take this so seriously and have worked so closely with the Nurses Union, the health authorities, in establishing relational security officers, in bringing in people who are specially trained, in helping to create safer workplaces. If we are going to attract and retain more nurses, which we know we need to strengthen our healthcare system, creating a safe workplace is an absolute requirement. Mr. Speaker, I'm absolutely dedicated to this initiative, to working with the Nurses Union, to working with the health authorities, to continuing that work, to ensure that our workplaces are free from violence, that health authorities are following policies in place, meeting our expectations for those safe workplaces, for patients, for workers, for all British Columbians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, our healthcare system is losing nurses because they're becoming injured and they can't work. And sometimes even worse. Last month, 33-year-old nurse Roseanne Wallace took her own life. She was attacked twice in the psychiatric unit where she worked. Roseanne's father said he would like the people in charge to spend a day shadowing a healthcare worker. He said, quote, "I'd like one of those higher-ups to come and spend a shift in a facility like that. I'm sure they wouldn't believe it, and I'm sure they wouldn't feel safe." End quote. Perhaps the minister should listen to Mr. Wallace's suggestion and spend a shift working in the dangerous conditions Roseanne was subjected to before she took her life. How does the minister expect nurses and healthcare workers to follow her rules when NDP staffing shortages are making it impossible for nurses to meet care standards?
Minister of Health.
Honourable Speaker, what happened with this nurse is absolutely devastating. And I know that this loss is felt across her workplace, in her community, by her family and her friends. It is absolutely tragic what took place. Mr. Speaker, that's why we have to continue the work that we are doing to create safer workplaces. That's why we're going to continue the work that we're doing with relational security officers, people who are specially trained to help de-escalate situations, to help identify aggressive behaviors. That's why we're going to continue with this work on bolstering curriculum around violence prevention in the workplace, because we know that it takes everybody. Mr. Speaker, we have to do this work. We're going to continue working with the union, with the nurses. I've had the opportunity to hear directly myself from frontline nurses, and putting ourselves in their shoes and understanding how frightening these situations are, it will help bolster all of us in the work that we need to do to continue this, to attract nurses to safe workplaces, because we know that nurses are an absolutely essential component of BC's healthcare system, and part of strengthening that healthcare system is creating safer workplaces. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Prince George Mackenzie.
Mr. Speaker, the BC Nurses Union reports an estimated 46 serious assaults per month. A nurse in Langley was assaulted with a weapon after the patient she was treating got into an altercation with another patient who pulled a weapon. The union's president said the healthcare system needs to keep weapons out of hospitals and healthcare settings. Yet last year, a leaked memo that members will remember from Northern Health instructed, I quote, "Staff do not remove personal items from the patient's room, even if there is a knife or weapon," end quote. When will this government finally protect nurses and keep weapons out of our hospitals?
Minister of Health.
Honourable Speaker, weapons are banned in hospitals, full stop. We're working to strengthen our policies and to ensure that this rule is enforced, the policies and procedures that must be in place, and that includes expanding the use of weapon screening at hospitals that are at the highest risk. Mr. Speaker, that's a very serious step to take. Weapon screening is currently under place in certain places like St. Paul's Hospital. The staff there are trained, these security staff, to look for, to watch for, to address weapons that someone might have on their person, and conversations regarding the feasibility of implementing more weapons detection are underway. Mr. Speaker, it is a sad place to be where we have to recognize this, but it's important that we take action, and that's why we're going to continue to do that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, that answer isn't good enough for today's work nurses, and it's hampering our ability to recruit the next generation of nurses because it's not the reality in our hospitals. Weapons are in our hospitals. Mr. Speaker, in November, a student nurse in her first clinical placement was attacked by a patient with a knife at Vancouver General Hospital. Nurses from the health region told the opposition, and I quote, "We see weapons on a regular basis. Knives very frequently, box cutters, machetes, hammers, guns, and more recently, a crossbow." To the Premier, would he feel safe if someone came to his office with a crossbow?
Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, once again, everybody deserves to feel safe and to be safe in their workplace, which is why we have taken action in creating safer workplaces through the establishment of security officers and have that conversations with the nurses union, with health authorities around the highest risk sites, getting input from the nurses union directly on where these officers should be. I've outlined the steps that we're taking around weapons detection and ensuring that they are kept out of hospitals because, again, they are banned from hospitals, full stop, as I said. We're going to continue this work.
Members, let the minister finish.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We're going to continue this work. We do have specialized teams of police officers, mental health trained nurses around BC to help respond to incidents outside the hospital to try to prevent events like that from taking place in a hospital. We can all imagine just how frightening, how scary that would be to be a patient, a nurse, any healthcare worker in a facility like that, in a setting like that. Mr. Speaker, that's why we're going to continue to listen to nurses and take action. Thank you.
Member for Langley Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, in Langley, the shortage of specialized nurses has reached a crisis point. Nurses are being asked to work outside their legal scope of practice, a reckless move that endangers lives. To meet the bare minimum for safety, specially trained nurses are constantly having their shifts changed without notice, throwing patient care into chaos. This isn't just mismanagement, it's a dangerous failure of leadership. Mr. Speaker, when will this Premier stop risking lives and take action to train and deploy the specialized nurses that our healthcare system desperately needs?
Minister of Health.
Thank you again, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member for the question. And again, nurses are an absolutely essential part of our healthcare workforce, and they deliver frontline care that everybody depends on. Mr. Speaker, we are facing a global shortage of healthcare workers, and that includes nurses, and that's why we have taken steps to hire and train more nurses here in BC, expanding the number of seats for training nurses, bringing in nurses from international destinations who are internationally educated, making it easier for nurses to come from the States to British Columbia. British Columbia is a fantastic place to work and to live. We're going to do everything we can to continue to build our nursing workforce here in British Columbia.
My apology to the Green Party, the House Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. For the past 2 weeks, forceful evictions have taken place in Kelowna. Residents of Kelowna's Outdoor Sheltering 4, known as OS4, experienced harmful and continuous displacement. Bylaw and police officers created an exclusion zone, barring anyone from entering, including media, community advocates, and cultural support workers. As we've seen, cities across the province, residents of OS4 were dispossessed of their belongings and survival gear. We know that for many of our friends and neighbours, displacement equals death. These cycles of violence are unacceptable. Through you, Honourable Speaker, to the Premier, will your government adopt a human rights-based approach to homelessness?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Having encampments in any community is unacceptable. That's why we've been working so hard with our partners to be able to rapidly deploy supportive housing, different forms of housing in communities throughout the province. We've been working closely with Kelowna, 120 homes within a year. 80 of them are up. We're seeing success. People are moving in. They're getting the supports they need. In fact, 40 people have already moved into supportive housing and moved into stable housing, either with family, on their own, found employment. I appreciate the member's question. We certainly know that there's some challenges that Kelowna are facing. I would advise the member that there's a lot of work happening from all partners to try to get every individual into housing. There is a criminal element that also is going into situations and preying on vulnerable people. And that also is unacceptable. And so it's important that the work that Kelowna does ensures that they're following laws, which my understanding is that they're following the rules. If not, of course, they'll have to address those challenges. But we're going to continue to work with Kelowna and all communities to be able to ensure that people can get indoors to get the supports that they desperately need.
Member supplemental.
Honourable Speaker, it's been 2 years since the massive Hastings Street decampment. Since then, several of these displaced residents have died alone, and many more suffer from injuries and trauma incurred during these sweeps. From the downtown east side to Kelowna, spring cleaning should not involve the violent displacement of our neighbours and violation of their human rights. Last year, the Federal Housing Advocate released a report titled Upholding Dignity and Human Rights, identifying 6 major calls to action. Through you, Honourable Speaker, to the Minister of Housing, will you work with all levels of government to implement the Federal Advocate's recommendations for upholding dignity and human rights in homeless encampments?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Again, thanks to the member for the question. I had the opportunity to meet with the advocate when I was in Ottawa just over a year ago to discuss what British Columbia is doing to address encampments. In fact, I would share with the member that we were praised for our leadership for deploying housing and providing wraparound supports for individuals. These are complex situations. Encampments are not safe for the people living in them. They're not safe for the community at large. We need to ensure that we're getting people indoors. A member mentioned Crab Park. The member would know that there was close to 100 people in encampments there. We found housing for all of those individuals. The encampment no longer exists, not because they were moved out. It's because we found housing opportunities. We got people indoors, Honourable Speaker. We're doing the same in Prince George, which Moxon Flats had close to 100 people, working closely with council. We have now 4 people left at that site, and we're going to find housing for those last 4 people as well. That work will continue in all communities that need housing.
Member for Chilliwack North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While nurses are being attacked, seniors are being shaken down when they struggle to put food on their tables. A constituent of mine in her 80s contacted me to tell me she was being charged almost $300 to get a health checkup so she could keep her driver's license. Why are seniors on fixed incomes being forced to pay out of pocket instead of being covered by MSP?
Shame. Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Seniors are such a valuable part of our society, and they've put so much work into creating the place that we have here. And that's why this government is committed to continuing to support seniors by increasing their access to healthcare services, increasing rent supplements for seniors living in low incomes, and taking so many steps to keep costs down. I appreciate the member's question very much, Mr. Speaker. Our medical services plan provides for medically necessary procedures and for services that people require for their good health, and I appreciate the member's question. Thank you.
Member for Skinner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last month, a nurse new in her career was strangled unconscious and had to be dragged to safety by her colleagues. This attack happened in the psychiatry inpatient unit at BGH. The person that strangled her was a patient. The BC Nurses Union deserves an answer to the question that their president asked. What is it going to take? Is it going to take one of my members actually being killed on the job in order for some substantive changes to take place?
Minister.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. And again, identifying a tragic situation that has taken place. And Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the member and all members of this House just how seriously this government takes workplace safety. Every patient who walks through a hospital door, every nurse who starts a shift deserves to be safe. Nurses are trained to help people with their healthcare problems. They're not trained to be security officers, Mr. Speaker. That's why we've taken steps, adding over 750 relational security officers in hospitals and sites across BC. Mr. Speaker, that's why we're going to continue this work and ensure that there are people who have specific training and trauma-informed practices who are able to identify these behaviors. And, Mr. Speaker, it's why I've made it clear to all health authorities that we need to see that all policies and procedures are being followed. Mr. Speaker, we have more work to do to build our nursing workforce, to ensure that we have the minimum nurse-to-patient ratios, and we've made this commitment to the BC Nurses Union, and to build this in acute care sites to start with. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue that work and ensure that workplaces are safe for everybody. Thank you.
Member for Courtney Comox.
Mr. Speaker, members of this House will remember what happened just a few steps from here. While responding to a call, a paramedic was violently beaten trying to provide care on Pandora Avenue. Healthcare workers and frontline responders are speaking out. This side of the House hears you. Speaker, how has this government allowed violence against first responders to become just another part of the job?
Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I thank the member for the question. Certainly, encampments are a challenge. I mentioned that in a previous question as well. I can share with the member that we have been, again, rapidly deploying housing opportunities in Victoria. I don't understand why this question needs to be heckled. It's a simple question. Honourable Speaker, we're working closely with stakeholders, with local businesses, with our first responders on Pandora. We actually have a working table that has the city, it has our not-for-profit partners all sitting together so that we can identify where challenges are to make sure that when first responders are responding, they're able to do so in a safe way, but also so that our not-for-profit partners that are going in to provide supports can be safe as well. We have seen some progress because of that table. Work continues. I certainly hope that we're able to get the last few folks back into housing so we can address that encampment, Honourable Speaker, but it is work that is ongoing.
Member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At Eagle Ridge Hospital, a nurse opened a curtain and found herself face to face with a man waving a machete, screaming, threatening, forcing staff to evacuate patients from the ER. Nurses' lives are on the line, and this NDP government has turned a blind eye to the safety hazards they encounter daily. Can this government please tell this House how many days, weeks, months, years until nurses can consider BC hospitals safe workplaces?
Minister of Health.
Honourable Speaker, it's absolutely untrue that this government has turned a blind eye. This government...
Members. Members. Minister.
This government, like all governments of any political stripe should, takes workplace safety incredibly seriously and understands that nurses and all healthcare workers need safe places to be able to deliver care to British Columbians. Mr. Speaker, that's why we're taking action to increase our nursing workforce. That's why we've made a commitment to the Nurses Union around minimum nurse-to-patient ratios. Mr. Speaker, that's why we've added security officers, specially trained security officers in these sites. Mr. Speaker, that's why we're going to continue this work to ensure that nurses are able to deliver the care for people that they need to be able to deliver without fear of violence. Mr. Speaker, nothing could be more serious when people are seeking care to know that the people who are there to deliver it are able to do that. They are able to be focused, to be able to stay focused on those patients and deliver that care. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue this work to increase our nursing workforce. We're going to continue this work to create safer workplaces. The entire House needs to understand that this government is entirely dedicated to that. Thank you so much.
Member for Abbotsford West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, what we've heard here this afternoon is we will continue to work, we will continue to work, we will continue to work. The only thing that we're certain that is continuing is the major incidents in our hospitals. We have had 3 major incidents at Eagle Ridge Hospital in just the last few months. Nurses, the public, and even a police officer were attacked. Healthcare workers are sounding the alarm, but this government continues to treat these assaults as isolated incidents instead of systemic failures. Mr. Speaker, how many more attacks will it take before this NDP will wake up and admit to its own failed policies that are fueling the chaos and unfolding in our hospitals today?
Minister.
Honourable Speaker, each and every one of these incidents needs to be brought to light, and we need to know about them, and we need to take serious action. When these incidents do take place, health authorities investigate. They ensure that steps are taken, the proper steps are taken, and Mr. Speaker, they take action to make improvements. Mr. Speaker, that's what this government will continue to do. Address the systemic issues behind violence in the workplace. Address issues of mental health and substance use and sickness in people to ensure that we are doing everything we can to support people. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to support nurses by establishing these security officers in hospitals, continuing to listen to the Nurses Union about those highest risk sites, encouraging and ensuring that health authorities are taking every action that they need to. Mr. Speaker, we're also facing a systemic issue in the shortage of healthcare workers, which is why this government continues to take so much action, creating new nursing seats, training nurses who will stay here in British Columbia. Mr. Speaker, every nurse deserves a safe workplace, every healthcare worker deserves a safe workplace, every patient deserves to have that. We will not give up. Thank you.
Member for Cariboo-Chilcotin.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I can't believe for a minute that the answers we're hearing today are providing any comfort for frontline workers that are afraid to go to their workplace. Mr. Speaker, after these 3 attacks at Eagle Ridge Hospital, staff were told to plan escape routes. Only now, after multiple assaults, has Fraser Health increased security. The Nurses Union says it is not enough and calling the situation alarming and saying, quote, "It isn't the environment that nurses should be expected to provide care and patients should not have to be concerned about being exposed to violence," end quote. Well, no kidding, Mr. Speaker. Why on earth has it taken 3 major incidents and serious injuries for this NDP to finally act?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. This government has been acting since the day we took office. Mr. Speaker, this government has been adding nurses, making a serious and important commitment around minimum nurse-to-patient ratios, part of ensuring that the staffing is there to help ensure a safe workplace for nurses, Mr. Speaker. We know just how critical nurses are, and that's why we're adding nurses to BC's healthcare workforce at a faster rate than any other major province. Mr. Speaker, we registered over 10,400 new nurses last year. But there's more work to do, Mr. Speaker, and we know that, and that's why we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to train nurses here in British Columbia. We're going to continue to attract nurses from other workplaces to come from the States, for example. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to support the Nurses Union, to listen to the issues, to listen to the incidents that are happening, to learn from every single one of them, and to create the safest possible workplace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Richmond Queensborough.
Mr. Speaker, Eagle Ridge Hospital has seen a series of violent incidents in just a few months, leading to serious staff injuries. The BC Nurses Union says that people often get away with harming and assaulting healthcare workers. Why isn't this Attorney General making it a priority to hold violent offenders who harm our healthcare workers accountable?
Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We take all violent incidents extremely seriously. The Minister of Health has gone over a series of measures that were taking place in the hospital to make sure that nurses are safe. I expect our justice system to deal with every instance of violence appropriately, and we have put better resources in the system to deal with repeat violent offenders, to make sure that our bail policy is strong when it comes to people that are offending and reoffending. And we will continue to do that work to keep everybody safe in BC. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Surrey White Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Here's the problem. These questions to the government aren't new. The bigger problem is we've got a minister that's answering these questions now the exact same way the former Minister of Health answered those questions. We have a government that continues to put politics before people. We're hearing stories.
Members.
We're hearing stories after stories of nurses having to battle through the bureaucracy of WorkSafe. And we're hearing stories of the minister handing out 7-figure severance packages to a failed health executive. The gaps in the system aren't sustainable, and they're clearly not safe. But even worse than all of that, days ago, this health minister confirmed to my colleague, the MLA for Skeena, that there is no new money for increased security in our hospitals. None. Zero. We've had minister after minister stand up and talk about the importance of keeping our frontline workers safe. But they don't walk the walk. They fail, time and time, story after story. So my question to the Minister of Health is a very simple one. Why can she not make it a priority to actually fund and protect our frontline workers instead of failing them day after day?
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We have canvassed all of the actions that this government is taking because we take workplace seriously. We take workplace safety seriously.
Members,
Mr. Speaker.
Members. members, come to, come to order.
Mr. Speaker, this is a government that takes workplace safety so seriously that we are funding 750 security officers across BC.
Members, members, question was asked and question was very clear. I think Minister understood your question. Let her answer now. There's no need to continue to heckle. Please finish it.
Mr. Speaker, this is a government that understands just how important nurses are to our healthcare workforce and why we are taking so many steps to increase the number of nurses that are working on the front lines delivering healthcare to people. Adding more nursing training seats, Mr. Speaker, making it easier for nurses to be licensed to practice here in British Columbia when traveling, coming from other locations, Mr. Speaker. That's why we're continuing to do this work to ensure that we are going to meet minimum nurse to patient ratios in acute care centres, for example, Mr. Speaker. That's why we're going to continue to listen to the nurses union and work with them.
Take it easy. Member, please conclude.
Mr. Speaker, that's why we're going to continue to take action and continue to strengthen BC's public health care system for all British Columbians.
The bell ends the question period.